Today, I will be discussing the United Nations 13th goal, climate action. The topics I'll be going over are 1. The definition of climate change, 2. How BC meets targets and goals, 3. BC compared to other provinces of Canada, and 4. What we can do ourselves to help. So what is climate change? Climate change, also known as global warming, refers to the rapid increase of heat in the Earth's atmosphere. This is mainly due to the release of heat-trapping greenhouse gases produced from fossil fuels that are used for human activities. Because of this, disastrous effects may arise worldwide, including changes in temperature, precipitation, natural disasters, and biodiversity. As said, greenhouse gases are the main reason for climate change. It can be created by burning fossil fuels such as coal, oil, and natural gas for energy. An example of this is through transportation. Cars and other vehicles must burn gasoline in order to operate, which releases the gas CO2 into the atmosphere. Another greenhouse gas, called methane, is extremely harmful and is usually produced from livestock farms with cows. Forests are called the lungs of the earth, as they are able to take in the CO2 and release oxygen in the air. However, with an increase in deforestation, less and less CO2 becomes absorbed and is instead left in the atmosphere. There are many consequences to climate change. For one, global warming can cause glaciers to shrink and ice to melt, which can lead to a rise in sea levels and thermal expansion. According to the UN site, average sea level rise is predicted as 24 to 30 centimeters by 2065 and 40 to 63 centimeters by 2100. It can create extreme weather conditions from heavy rainfalls to hurricanes. This can cause many problems such as floods, landslides, and an overall risk to human lives. Not only our lives, but animal species can be harmed and habitats may be destroyed. This could lead to extinction, as animals are no longer able to thrive or handle new conditions. Lastly, it's dangerous for our health. As more greenhouse gases fill the air, the world will become more polluted, which can lead to health problems such as lung disease. Sustainable Development Goal 13 is about taking urgent action to combat climate change and its impacts. The main UN targets include strengthen resilience and adapt to climate-related hazards and natural disasters, integrate climate change measures, strategies, and policies, improve education and raise awareness on climate mitigation. On the Government of BC website, it claims this list of impacts could occur if global warming continues to increase. Warmer temperature in all seasons, which was evident as the average annual temperature warmed by 1.4 degrees Celsius across the province and 3.1 degrees Celsius in winter nights. More intense and more frequent heavy rain as annual precipitation increased across the province overall, larger and more frequent wildfires, stronger storm surges, rising sea levels as they claim the average sea level has risen along most of the BC coast, changing forest conditions, changes in plant and animal distributions, and lowering the pH of the ocean, which is also known as ocean acidification. By following the Clean BC Plan, BC plans to meet the target of reducing the risk of climate change in multiple ways. To start, BC is committed to reducing greenhouse gas emissions by 40% by 2030, 60% by 2040, and 80% by 2050. They plan to take action to reduce pollution and waste. They plan to identify new technologies and opportunities in order to meet longer-term climate goals, increase preparation for climate change impacts, and to work towards a future where new buildings and vehicles produce no emissions at all. So what are some examples on how BC specifically plans to meet these targets? The first example on how BC will reduce greenhouse emissions is through pushing towards zero-emission transportation. The government plans to enforce a requirement that 10% of new passenger vehicles sold in 2025 will be zero-emission and rise to 30% in 2030. The cost of the new zero-emission vehicles will be subsidized, and electric charging stations will expand. In the short term, BC claims to tighten up its low-carbon fuel standard and increase the production of biofuels. Next, a way they will take action to reduce pollution is by implementing new carbon tax revenues towards industries as an incentive to reward the lowest GHG producers. They also plan to enforce new regulations to reduce methane leakages for large industries. Finally, an example of how they will use new technologies and opportunities to meet longer-term climate goals is through creating new buildings that will be 80% more efficient net zero ready by 2032. This means their average annual energy needs will be attempted to be met by installing rooftop solar panels. In addition, a minimum requirement of 15% renewable gas taken from landfills or agriculture will be implemented for buildings as well. A way they can meet the goal of increasing preparation for climate change impacts is by raising awareness. Classes and clubs in school teach what climate change is to students. For example, I took a course called Physical Geography 12 that first taught me what climate change exactly was and the methods to prevent it. Also, I am a part of the Environment Club, where we tackle issues similar to this and come up with sustainable practices to save our planet. On September 27, 2019, a climate change march occurred in Vancouver and Victoria, where over 100,000 people gathered. I remember my school let students leave early to attend this march, as it's important to support this cause. I myself went to this march and held up my own poster, along with thousands of other students. Since we couldn't vote yet, I felt this was a powerful way to let our voices be heard. The protest was effective as NPD leader Jagmeet Singh joined and BC Environment Minister George Heyman acknowledged the government's Clean BC program needs more work. He claims our plan ensures that we're open and transparent about our goals. We expect to be held accountable, and we're putting new mechanisms in place so British Columbians can do just that. How do other provinces compare to BC? In terms of contribution to climate change and amount of greenhouse emissions produced, the chart shows Yukon and Quebec ranked as best, Ontario and BC ranked as very good, while Alberta and Saskatchewan is in the red and ranked as the worst. The reason for this is because the two provinces are the main hub for energy. They're plentiful in fossil fuels and resources such as crude oil and coal. Canada Energy Regulator claims about 91% of electricity in Alberta and about 83% of electricity in Saskatchewan is produced from fossil fuels, whereas provinces in BC and Quebec tend to rely on hydroelectricity for energy needs. This quote from the United Nations sites reads, "The world has warmed before, but never this quickly, and it is due in large part to human activities. As we are the ones responsible for climate change, we have to be the ones to fix it." There are various ways we can help and do our part to prevent further global warming. As forests are a vital resource that can absorb the greenhouse emission carbon dioxide, we can plant trees to replace the ones lost from deforestation. Although more zero-emission vehicles are being made and distributed, we can still find ways to limit car usage. There are other means of transportation that can limit the release of gases, such as biking, carpooling, and transiting. By installing renewables, including solar panels and wind turbines, we can create clean electricity and reduce pollution. It is important to try and eat more local organic food that isn't grown with GMOs, as it will cut out the greenhouse emissions produced from it. In addition, reducing the amount of beef purchased will also significantly lower emissions, as cows are the source of methane. Finding ways to save energy in any way possible will always help. This includes small changes such as switching to LED light bulbs and unplugging electronic devices when not in use. Finally, one of the most important things we can do to help is raise awareness. By spreading the word about climate change either verbally or online, it will make an immense difference and potentially save our planet. To conclude, climate change is a significant problem and we must take action. In 2015, Canada, along with over 190 countries, signed to be a part of the Paris Agreement. It aims to strengthen the global response to the threat of climate change by keeping a global temperature rise well below 2 degrees Celsius. Despite this, 2019 was the second warmest year on record as CO2 amounts rose to shocking new levels. Although greenhouse gas emissions dropped around 6% in 2020 due to travel bans from the COVID-19 pandemic, this improvement is only temporary. Climate change is not on pause, and once the economy begins to recover from the pandemic, emissions are expected to return to even higher levels. Therefore, BC must ensure to meet the targets of the UN website by following the Clean BC Plan. This is the only way the province won't suffer the effects of global warming, and other provinces must also take action. The United Nations states the more we delay, the more we pay. Our world has never warmed this fast, and it's largely because of human activities. We can limit global warming rise to less than 2 degrees like the Paris Agreement plans if we take action now. Every country and society as a whole must contribute for our own sake. Within my community in BC, we are trying to do our part and spread awareness in hopes to work towards a better future.